Hey, so today's class is going to be for hips. So we're doing a class for hips to help keep the hips happy. Yeah, we like happy hips. So let's come on down onto our backs on the floor. Making our way into constructive rest. And we find our way into breath. Just noticing the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Perhaps the eyes are soft focused or gently closed. Our body is like our personal real estate. We're noticing all the edges of the physical body today. Imagine if you had a marker or a marking pen and you drew around each foot. Noticing the expanse of each foot. Taking that pen and marking up the side of the legs, coming up from the foot, the ankle, the calf, the knee, all the way up past the thigh into the hip joint. One leg at a time. And then up the side of the torso on each side from the hips to the ribs, to the shoulder, then down one arm to the wrist. And we outline the hands, the hand, taking our imagination to the other side of our body. We draw a line from the hip joint up to the shoulder, down the arm, past the wrist, and around the circumference of each hand, of the other hand. Then we take the line from the shoulder up one side of that shoulder to the neck, the other shoulder to the neck and up the neck. And then from the neck on one side to the crown of the head. So that's coming up one side of the head and then the other. And then imagining outlining the entire head, the front of it, the back of it, the right and the left of it. It is as if we created a little container here for our body and we allow ourselves to feel the edges of our container. Perhaps noticing which parts of our body we're keenly aware of and what seems to be missing in our mind. To our mind's eye. And then we let go of all that imagining and we prepare to move. So we're going to begin by walking our feet as wide as the mat. The knees are still bent, the feet are standing on the mat We're going to take the right knee and drop it toward the left ankle. We're going to be sliding the hands up if the shoulders allow. Otherwise, we can do the Y with the arms or the T with the arms. Maybe they're at the I with the arms, the letter I. You decide. And as we settle here, we're noticing a stretch. So the inner edge of the right foot is the weight-bearing part of the foot. We're noticing the stretch up the side of the leg into the hip. Maybe allowing ourselves to imagine or actively press the thigh bone long. So we're pressing into the thigh bone like it's aiming toward the left corner of the mat. And we're noticing the stretch up the right body. And maybe the head turns a little to the left to deepen this, and we're breathing here. And then we're slowly going to unwind that. We're rolling across the back of the pelvis. Make it a slow roll. Come back to center. And now we're going to take that left knee toward the right ankle, coming on to the inner edge of the left foot. We're lengthening from the hip joint through the femur, the thigh bone, and we're pressing toward the upper right-hand corner or the lower right-hand corner of the mat. And we're feeling a nice stretch in the side body. And the head turns gently to the right. We're waking up our hip joint and the side body. Breathing here. Oh, crikey. And then we're going to come back to center. Let the arms float down to a T. And now we'll gently go right and left with the windshield wipers. There's no destination and there's no hurry. Soft, gentle movements here. Let the head follow. So we're going to take the hip into a lot of the range of motion or that the hips experience in different ways the hip joint moves for us today. We're going to pause. We're going to bring a block and we're going to plant it next to the right hip. We're going to grab our strap. And we're going to loop the strap over the arch of the right foot, coming into Utkatasana. We're going to extend the left leg long. And we're actively seeking to keep the left leg vigorous. So imagine pressing the thigh, the back of the thigh of the left leg into the floor. The foot is flexed, as is the foot in the strap. So we're just going to pause here and find a place that feels good. So that could be farther away from the body, or it could be vertical. We're keeping the foot flexed. We're doing a nice stretch into the hamstrings where they insert. So we're working the whole pelvic area, including the hip. So bend the knee, then straighten the leg. Keep the other leg active and keep the breath moving. So we're actively pressing that left leg into the floor. Whether we can feel the full extent of it touching the floor, the action is still present for us. Now we're going to turn our foot out. We're going to take the strap into the right hand, and we're going to open, and we're working to keep the left side of the hip on the floor, the left side of the pelvis. That's why the block is here, to remind us to not go too far. So can we feel the left side of the pelvis anchored to the mat? If not, maybe the block needs to be a little higher. We can hold on to the strap with the left hand and the block with the right. And that foot is turned out to the right. Utkatasana 2. So we did 1, this is 2. And then we're coming back to center. We're going to turn the foot out again, bring it across the body. So we don't want to fall over into the other side. We're going to keep this hip on the floor. So I'm actually going to turn my toes to the left, and I'm going to keep the right hip on the floor as I move this leg across the center of the body. Keep the left leg active. It's working hard. And I'm feeling a pinch right in my hip joint. So I'm going to take my hand and I'm just going to give it a little love. Say, I know you're there. I hear you talking to me. And then we're going to come back to center. We're going to slide that left leg up. Work it up. We're going to release the right foot to the floor. Pause in constructive rest. And now let's take the left leg for a spin. So we're going to draw that left foot up and in. We're taking the block now to the left side of the hip. We're going to slide that right leg long, and we're going to anchor it to the floor. We're going to see if we can feel the thigh or the calf on the floor. We flex the foot. We extend the leg toward the sky, flex that foot also, and find the position that feels more easily experienced in the body. We don't want to do a lot of traumatic force in this posture. We're looking for some place that we can work with a little bit of ease as we bend the knee and then straighten the leg. Bend the knee. Is the right leg still working? Keep the right leg working. Well, we're working the left leg, so both legs are very active here. Then we're going to pause. And maybe holding on with the left hand and securing the block with the right, or holding on with the right hand if we can keep the left hip anchored. We turn the foot to the left and we open, and we're stretching in the adductors, the inner thigh muscles here. Those are very helpful for keeping the hip heavy. Are you noticing the right side of the pelvis? Is it trying to lift up? Anchor it back down. Maybe bring the foot a little closer into the body if the right hip wants to peel off the floor. And now we're going to come back to center. We're going to turn the toes to the right, and we're crossing the center line of the body. We want to keep the pelvis flush to the floor. So we're not lifting the left side of the pelvis. We're going to feel a nice deep stretch, probably in that band of tissue from the hip down to the knee. So this is warming us up for all the adventurous things that we're going to be doing in just a moment. We're going to come back to center. We're going to bend the knee. Slide the other foot up. Let's draw both knees into the heart. Maybe rocking gently right and left. And then let's take it in a circle around the low back in one direction. And then in the other. So the strap can go to the side. We're going to be rolling onto our side. And come on up. We're going to grab our blanket now and prepare to do downward facing dog. You determine how thick you want your blanket to be, just a little bit cushiony. We're coming into downward facing dog. So with our hands, we turn them out ever so slightly away from center. So what that means is my hands are at like a 15, 20 degree angle. That helps to rotate the elbow joints forward just a little bit. We're going to tuck the toes under, and we're going to rise up with bent knees on our tiptoes. So come on up. We're keeping the heels up. See if we can bring the weight onto the ball mound of the hands to match the weight on the ball mound of the foot. So the toes and the juncture where the toes meet the feet are very active, as are the junctures where the phalanges, the fingers, meet the hand. We're slowly going to walk the dog now. We're bending one knee, pressing the other heel toward the floor, bending, going back and forth. Make this slow and smooth. And then we're going to pause, and we're going to let the heels sink toward the floor. And then we're slowly going to lower to the floor, bringing the knees to the floor. Take a block. And we're going to come into child's pose, resting our head on a block. Our hips are coming toward our heels. Maybe they will settle on the heels. Some people are able to do that, some aren't. However it works for you, make that happen. Maybe circle the wrist just a little bit while we're in this posture. And then we're going to come back up onto hands and knees. And we're going to take two blocks. We're going to place them on the mat in front of us. We're going to be doing crescent lunge. So with crescent lunge, what we do is we draw one foot forward. I'm starting with my right foot. I'm bringing my right foot forward. I'm deciding whether it's going to be easier on my back to have my hands on a high block, medium block, or low block. I feel like a medium kind of day today. So you get to decide for yourself what's going to work. We're going to turn the back toes under. So rock forward a little bit. We're keeping the front knee in alignment with the ankle, the knee and the ankle, pretty close to perpendicular. We're going to turn the back toes under. We're going to rock forward and lift the back knee up. So we pause here to feel the stability of this posture. Decide whether the blocks are at the right height for us. And then we're going to bend the knee and Bring it back to the mat. And then we're going to lift up again. So we're doing a little bit of a pulsing here. Breathe. One more. And then we release that knee to the floor. Scoot that front leg back. Come back into child's pose. Using a block for the head. And then we're going to come back up. We're going to reset for the other side. So now we're swinging that left foot forward. Bing, bing, bing. We're seeing if we can bring the knee and the ankle perpendicular. Maybe scoot that other knee back just a little bit, a couple inches. Turn the toes under. Rock forward to come up onto a low lunge. We're breathing here. That back leg is long and strong. And then we're going to bend the knee, bring it toward the mat, and then lift. Bend the knee. Breath helps here. One more time, lifting and lowering. And then we come to the mat. We're going to return to child's pose. Rest here. Maybe the wrists want to move around a little bit. Breathing. Now we're going to come back up and we're going to do lizard pose. So lizard is kind of like a crescent lunge. What we're going to do is I'm going to bring the block. I've got my right foot forward. Bring the blocks on the baby bear side to the left side of my body. I'm going to take my right foot and I'm going to walk it up toward the corner of the mat. So I'm coming forward. I'm going to rearrange my knees so that it's comfortable and I'm in a really big lunge, right? I've got my hands on the blocks. If you want to come forward a little bit, move the blocks around so they feel stable. And maybe we come onto the blocks. And we just allow ourselves to soften here. This is a deep hip flexor stretch, diving into the hip joint. Breathing here. Then we're going to press ourselves up. We're going to hinge back. I'll move the block so you can see my foot. I'm coming on to the heel of the foot. And nice stretch in the back of the leg. I'm using my blocks to help support my transition as I bring that leg back. And now the left leg's going to come forward. It's going to start sliding up toward the left edge of the mat. I'm rearranging the back leg, so I'm kind of above the knee. And then if that feels good, this may be enough just to get here. If you want a little more, this is going to take you deeper into that hip flexor, but you get to decide what works for you. And what I notice is on this side, I'm more inclined to stay on my blocks rather than hinging forward any further. So now we're going to hinge back out of this. And we're coming onto the heel of the front foot for that nice inner and outer leg stretch. And then I'm using my blocks to support my transition as I come back to my knees, and I'm going to bring myself to standing. So I'm going to step 1 foot forward, tuck the toes under, lift up, come to standing. We're done with the blocks today. And now we're going to grab a chair. You can also move the blanket off the mat if you so desire, because now we're going to do some standing postures. Now pause for a moment here. We're coming into mountain. And just for a moment, feel stability as we stand in mountain. Let's bring a chair in, and we're going to face the seat of the chair. We're going to walk our feet wide. And we're going to fold toward the chair, any amount. You can also use a block here to rest your head if your head doesn't make it all the way to the seat of the chair. So we're just allowing ourselves to soften here. This is a relaxation posture. Maybe press the pelvis backward just a little bit. That gets the legs active again. But we're softening between the shoulder blades. We're going to be doing some chair poses. And we'll soften up between the shoulder blades in this relaxation restoration pose. So to come out of this, we bring the hands to the seat of the chair flat, press ourselves up, walk the feet together, and we'll set the chair to the side. We'll come back to the chair in a moment for some other delightful practices. So today we're going to do Utkatasana, also known as the fierce pose or chair pose. So with the chair pose, we scoot our bum way back. And usually we bring our arms straight out of the shoulders. What we're going to do today, though, is we're going to take the arms to T. Now draw the shoulder blades together in the back as we sit back into chair. Feel the stability. See if we can keep our knees from knocking together as we're reaching through the hands, drawing the shoulder blades together. And then to rise out of this, we're going to let the arms float down, float up to shoulder height, and then we press the floor away to come to standing. Hands come to heart center. Breathe here. And then the arms are going to float out again to T. We activate the shoulder blades, draw them together, reach through the fingertips, sitting back into chair. Find breath here. Feel the abdominals working. Feel the low back working. Keep the legs strong. Avoid the temptation to drop the knees together. We want to keep strength in the legs. And then to rise out of this, the arms float down. And then we press the floor away to rise to standing. Hands come to heart center. And we're going to do that one more time. So we take the arms to T, extend through the fingertips and draw the shoulder blades together. Sit down into chair. Feel the strength building in the legs. Feel the work that's happening here. And then let the arms float down. Then we press the floor away as the arms float up. We come back to prayerful mountain. And now let's take our chair and bring it to the mat. We're going to face the seat of the chair again. We're going to be doing high lunges now. So let's take the right foot and bring it maybe under the chair. Make sure the feet are at least as wide apart as the hip joints. We're not on a tightrope, we're on railroad track. We're going to bring our hands to the chair and we're going to step that back foot back as far as it will go. It's going to be so far back that the heel does not touch the floor. And so that could be shorter than I'm modeling. It doesn't matter. We just have that leg nice and long. We've got the ankle and the knee of the front leg lined up. We're going to bring ourselves up to standing. Hands can come to the hip joints. As we pause here with the back leg, imagine the back of the knee being pulled toward the ceiling and feel the heart lift here. And we're just going to go up and down ever so slightly. It doesn't have to be too big of an action, but we're definitely working. And we're going to pause here. Bring the torso forward, hands to the chair. Step back with the front foot. Bring it back toward the back foot. Find a version of chair dog here that feels good in your body. Lifting the sits bones. Imagining the back of the pelvis widening. Let the head go. And now we're going to step forward with the opposite foot. For me, it's my left. I'm stepping all the way forward. I'm going to bend that knee. And I'm going to arrange the back heel so that it's long and the heel is off the back leg, long and heel off the floor. We're breathing here. I'm going to guess by now we're really noticing our legs. We've done a lot of leg work today. We're going to come on up, bringing the hands to rest on the hip joint. And then maybe lift and lower, lift and lower. Don't have to do too much. We're just really helping the hip flexors here. Remember to be fluid and flexible, mobile and agile. Then we're going to pause, hands to the chair, step back, arrange your feet in such a way that you can do a chair dog that feels good. And to come out of this, we're going to come through Utkatasana. So if the feet need to move a little bit forward to make that happen, move the feet forward. I'm going to push off of the chair, and then I'm going to come to Utkatasana. This time just with my shoulders, my arms straight out of my shoulders. I'm going to press the floor away as I rise and bring my hands to heart center. Stepping up to the chair again. We're going to take our legs wide. We're going to do that wide leg down dog posture, which also can be called Parsabottanasana. We're going to come forward. You can bring the block onto the chair to release the head onto the block or release the forehead onto the chair. You can also stack fists, but we're softening between the shoulder blades as we press back with our hips, and then imagine or sense the pelvis just widening here. It feels good to me to just release my hands to the floor. So if that would feel pleasurable to you in this posture, you can do that. One big breath here. The hands come to the seat of the chair, press ourselves up, walk the feet toward each other. Slightly bend the knees to come up through an Utkatasana to standing. I'm going to invite you to find your way onto the floor now for Savasana. And as we've been doing this practice, I have some stellar jays that are nesting in my neighborhood and in my yard, and they're flying back and forth past the window. And I'm so delighted just to have the birds participating with me in yoga today. When we come onto the floor, we come onto our backs. We began our practice by outlining our body in our imagination. And as we rest here, do we have a bigger sense, a more awakened sense about our physical body? Maybe even feeling like the edges of our physical body have dissolved and we've become much more, have a stronger sense of us being energy than fully physical matter. And then let go of everything as we settle into Savasana. Our thought today is from Rumi. Do you know what you are? You are a manuscript of a divine letter. You are a mirror reflecting a noble face. This universe is not outside of you. Look inside yourself. Everything you want, you are already that. Rumi. Gently, with deep awareness, bring breath to your conscious mind. Perhaps noticing the little space of skin between the lip and the nose. And how the breath moves over that little bit as we draw in and as we breathe out. Noticing the temperature of the breath on the inhale and how it slightly changes on the exhale. And now won't you join me as we open our arms wide? We gather all the blessings that already exist and in appreciation and gratitude. Draw them into our hearts, and together we all say, Namaste.